Anyway, I am glad you're here.
Line. Line. Line.
Where franchise rape is concerned, if Skyrim was the fumbling but ultimately innocent post-date titty grab, then Elder Scrolls Online was a full-blown backseat butt-fucking. And while the most egregious of these two-fisted affronts was tellingly a ZeniMax production, there's no denying that Todd Howard's Eternal Streamline Suckathon has carved so many limbs from the Bethesda bonsai at this point, it has fewer branches than Movie Bob's genealogy. With the skies graying with each successive iteration, it falls to Fallout, a series now helmed not by Herr Howard, but by Thief 2 luminary Emil Pagliarulo to suss out that silver lining. What I couldn't have fathomed until I booted up the bastard was that Fallout 4 features staggering quantities of both.
Fetch work. Do it yourself.
Clouds blacker than Todd Howard's lies, with a lining of such lustrous silver it's currently sobbing about its girlfriend on a surfboard in outer fucking space. Which isn't to suggest the developmental ardor is evident in every aspect of the game. Just flip on the radio and dig these torpid tunes! Look, I'm the last carbon-based life form to defend the leaning tower of tripe that was New Vegas. In fact, my review of the title in question is among the most excoriating assaults on an overrated game in recent memory, and I not only stand by every word, the RPG Codex can blow me for the fucking privilege. That said, a glitchy goat fuck though the game may be, at least Obsidian didn't apply the reduce, reuse, recycle mantra to easily 2/3 of the fucking soundtrack. We get it. Pete's hacking and whacking and smacking. Thanks to Fallout 3, we've been hit to that fact for going on 8 ass fucking years. Give me Buddy Holly, Billy Fury, something.
This radio station, well, you'll notice there aren't any other ones. So,
In the first 24 hours of release, you quadrupled the gross domestic product of India in sales revenue. I think you can afford a fucking Elvis tune. Or here's a radical concept. Post-apocalyptic though society may be, they've somehow found a way to keep VTOLs, laser rifles, and giant village-stomping Voltron robots perpetually maintained. I'm thinking maybe, possibly, in the most remote tracts of human ingenuity, someone found an electric guitar, restored the fucker, and played some Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. And before the clangorous indie cunts regale us all with the impossibility of that fact given the game's alternate timeline, doubtless while extolling the virtues of P-Coat's fake vibrato and CB radio vocal effects, in the Pit DLC you happen upon the Leather Rebel armor, an outfit formerly owned by a priest of the desert. Blastmaster armor. Mr. Crowley!
Don't blow yourself up, okay?
Mr. Crowley, what went on in your head?
Fuck the overseer of Vault 92, the music preservation vault, a Mr. Rick Rubin would like to know how heavy metal doesn't exist when 3/4 of the locations, characters, and even exact lines of dialogue are fucking derived from it.
Some heads are gonna roll for this.
Look, I'm not asking for Maiden to headline Fallout Fest 2287, but if you're not going to indulge the series' unmistakable metallic ancestry, at least hit the goddamn refresh button and give us some new big band bullshit. But Fallout 4, as I'm sure we're all now well aware, is not a game defined by what it's bringing back, but by what it's seen fit seemingly at whim to slide the fuck out of the formula without a moment's consideration spared for how the precariously swaying tower of goddamn Jenga blocks might be affected by its untimely removal. Perhaps the most noteworthy feature to go MIA, at least from a playstyle perspective, is the top-to-bottom pausectomy performed on the formerly inert VATS function. Gone for good are the days of steepling your fingers and assiduously assessing each strategic advantage of a given combat approach during a compulsory pausathon. Where you're permitted to slowly, deliberately prioritize your assault on individual body parts with blood and brain flex remunerating a job well done. In its place, a balls-out bullet time transplant, further solidifying my ongoing theory that while the calendar may read 2015, in every action endeavor of the last decade and a half, Father Time's DeLorean's been perpetually stalled somewhere around 1999. At a glance, removing the compulsory pause in favor of some ham-fisted hammer time should deepen the difficulty, theoretically warranting a mention as a welcome omission. Even steeped in cynicism as I admittedly am, I have to concede that when that Fallout 3 cinematic kill cam gets to spinning and my sawed-off sears through a shitbag sternum, my erection's knocking low-flying traffic copters from orbit just like the next slob. But after wringing out the gore ponchos, I think we all have to admit the VAT system has a way of degenerating into a tiresome, if visually exhilarating exercise in press X to win. Bethesda, as if on cue, has done fuck all with a side of fuck yourself to ameliorate that latent imbalance, particularly without a control upgrade in the offing. In short, we all know that pause feature wasn't just there for aesthetics or casualization, it was a band-aid. A band-aid slapped on a great big throbbing gameplay tumor called the targeting system. Look, if the act of depressing the shoulder button turns a bustling battlefield into a Twilight Zone episode, well, then all's forgiven when I have to spend the better part of a weekend circumnavigating your clunky-ass game of extremity roulette until it finally highlights his right arm so it can write a Dear John letter to his torso. But if suddenly, as per Fallout 4, all the VATS button does is slow the action to a UTI trickle while a slathering murderous mole rat horde steadily advances on my position to munch on my pendulous nuts, will color me demanding, but I'm gonna need the mere act of targeting to be incrementally more precise than shaving your cock with a car bumper. Particularly when the only viable combat alternative is to peer glaucomically over a woefully overdesigned briar of techno bullshit while our old friend the Iron Sight waves his nads in our face. Thanks, New Vegas. Yeah, breaking ass news, Bethesda. The television set and or computer monitor is a two-dimensional surface. We don't have depth perception, asshat. Even the faux futuristic Oculus Rift or the 5 3D television sets sold since 2010 afford only the most remedial approximation of a three-dimensional space. All you accomplish by clambering aboard the bland wagon to Ironsight's junction is to deliberately obscure as much as half of what little two-dimensional space the gamer's eye and brain normally uses to mentally fashion an infinitely more accurate approximation in their own fucking skull. Take it from someone who's actually fired one, the human eye does not perceive the act of aiming down the sights as a jagged metal half-moon ass obstructing the entirety of your peripheral vision. And the sooner this trite trend hopping goes the way of your RPG credentials, the sooner we can stop fighting your jerky controls and cumbersome interface long enough to actually be immersed. And God almighty, the graphics. Now don't misunderstand, if it's a robot, a firearm, or a piece of power armor, the visual fidelity is occasionally jaw-dropping. Every rivet, every aberrant arc of carbonization, every auburn rivulet of rust is rendered in shockingly earnest detail, but if it breathes oxygen and exhales carbon dioxide, avert your ever-loving eyes. Skin like a blood orange, vault suit the color and textural consistency of decades-old Laffy Taffy, a mouth festooned with row after ear-biting row of jagged caramelized Tic Tacs. If I saw my character ambling the fuck down the road, I'd put it down in the name of eugenics. But oh, the doldrums of the dialogue wheel. I don't know exactly how many times I selected the sarcastic response, only to sit passively in stone-faced horror as my character launched into a spastic, gratingly unfunny angry Joe skit.
Could you say that like Dr. Frankenstein?
Igor, fetch me the brain!
Sorry.
But I lost count somewhere between 0 and too fucking many. Look, it's one thing if the verbal discourse serves as little more than innocuous fluff for the player's immersive benefit exclusively, but when the mercurial disposition of my followers and their utility to me in a gameplay sense is unequivocally tied to one of 4 randomized rejoinders, I'd appreciate a summary that doesn't read like a fucking fortune cookie. But nary an omission in all of Christendom burns quite so exquisitely deep as the baffling, capricious, conceited, developmental, narcissistic M-bomb that dropped when the barony of Bethesda arbitrarily decreed the star-crossed skills system would next be shit-hammered.
Less time thinking, more time blowing shit up.
For all of me, perhaps the single most supercilious preclusion in the company's recent history, a dog-shit shockwave that leaves nary an element of gameplay untouched by the floundering fallout of its imbecilic removal. A decision I firmly believe was made at half past the 11th hour due to bewildering incongruities like, say, the fact that you took a tomahawk to the energy weapon skill, yet neglected to remove its its motherfucking bobblehead from the game. Look, it's hard enough to level your shit with 13 skills and 15 points per level a la Fallout 3 in New Vegas, but ballooning the skill set to include perks, more than doubling its size and in the process excising many beloved abilities simultaneously, then handing us 1 pity point per level? I mean, by the time I feel even mildly adept at my chosen vocation, my character's wearing white shoes and weighing 401k options at a timeshare in Boca Raton. My stealth character didn't even feel decent, not adept, not experienced, not a grizzled goddamn ninja, but decent until I was rounding the corner on level 20. Pull back for the establishing shot on the magic eye painting of this game for a beat. Now just what the fuck is wrong with that picture? For my Sacagawea dollar, the mark of a truly great sequel is when it so demonstrably supersedes its predecessor in story, gameplay, and accessibility that it effectively supplants it, making the thought of voluntarily revisiting previous entries a daunting undertaking akin to fucking time travel. It speaks volumes then that upon completion of Fallout 4, I revisited 3 in New Vegas as if Fallout the 4th was little more than a 6-second sidebar to break fucking wind. Toddy boy, you may have sold 9 tetrillion titloads of this fun but ultimately mediocre game. That'll tend to happen when you run ads like a coked up snake oil salesman. But every gamer who endures this increasingly shallow product is learning the same sobering lesson as Jim Sterling's viewership.
You're fat, you're ugly, and it's time you and your crazy bitch said goodbye.
It's better to be deep than wide. I'm Razor Fist. God fucking speed.
Different or special just because you review a game low.
Like people were jizzing all over Jeff Gerstmann and Giant Bomb because they like called out all the problems.
They were like, it's a technical.
Yeah, it's like, oh, thank you, Jeff Gerstmann, for keeping it real.
We sip wine and ate cheese on crackers as we wrote our reviews.